I'm Erinn Wilkins, a water tech here at the Upper Big Blue NRD, and today we're going to be talking about water quality in the Upper Big Blue, as well as rules and regulations for the phase 2 and 3 areas. So to start off, we're going to talk about the long-range goals for groundwater quality within our district, and what those are for us. The first one is to use education, research, management practices, and other incentives to reduce the potential for non-point source contamination while not affecting the economy of the area. The second goal is to develop monitoring and evaluation programs for non-point source contamination. And the third goal is to encourage the use of best management practices and the adoption of equipment and techniques to reduce nitrate leaching. Within our district, we have public water supplies. We have 40 non-community systems and 39 community systems. And of those, 37 systems are on a quarterly sampling schedule for nitrates. This map shows you where those systems are within the state of Nebraska. Those that do require the nitrate sampling, the dots are just none, basically once a year. Quarterly sampling are the stars, and then the triangles and the hexagons have higher nitrates, so they do have more regulations and rules that they do need to follow within the state guidelines. And then several communities within the district have found it necessary to construct new wells, and they are either building or considering new treatment plants to comply with the state and federal drinking water standards. One of the biggest concerns, obviously, within the state of Nebraska is nitrate concentrations. So to kind of give you an idea, here is where our district is located. And so to kind of show you, it's not just an Upper Big Blue NRD problem, but rather a statewide problem. As you can see, there are a lot of red dots other areas within the state, not just within our district. So it's not just an our issue, but it's an everyone issue that we need to try to resolve. And then this is showing you with the last, I guess, 30 years, maybe 40 years of nitrate data that we have within the state. Early to mid 70s is kind of when they were starting to look at nitrate concentrations within the state. Sampling wasn't as big of a requirement as it is now. As you can see here, you have the 70s through the 80s, not as much sampling was done, but within the last few decades, it has increased. And to kind of show you here the last 20 years of sampling, you have a increased trend line, but it is starting to stabilize a bit, which is good. We are doing an increase with sampling, so we are getting on top of the problem to see what we can do to fix it. One of the biggest health issues with nitrates is the blue baby syndrome. Infants or toddlers who drink water high in nitrates can become sick, and they can die if they aren't treated with that. Basically, with the blue baby syndrome, nitrates attached to the red blood cells, and that prevents oxygen from reaching organs within the body. Also, pregnant women, nursing mothers, and elderly, if they can also become ill if they do drink water high in nitrates. One of the things that we do here is we have a sampling program in the fall where we sample about 250 domestic wells within our district. This is the most recent map that we have from this last fall. The bigger the dot, the higher the concentration. As you can see here, we did have some houses that were pretty high in nitrates. The safe drinking level is set at 10 parts per million by EPA. So again, if you do rely on a private well, a domestic well, it is important to get that sampled at least once a year to know what's in your water, what you're drinking, how you can fix that. And then between 2014 and 2016, we did a 3-year study for 3 other contaminants within our district. 162 samples were collected total, and those were arsenic, selenium, uranium. So here we have a result map for arsenic. The bigger the dot, the higher the concentration. Long-term health effects, skin damage, circulation problems, increased risk of cancer. And as you can see here, the MCL was at 10 parts per billion. So again, a smaller concentration than nitrates. And so we did have a few wells that did test higher than that. Selenium, as before, bigger the dot, bigger the concentration. Long-term health effects, hair, fingernail loss, numbness in fingers and toes, circulation problems. And then uranium, exposure can be toxic effects to the kidneys. Long-term effects can be an increased risk of cancer. So then this study sparked many questions, the big two being, when is the best time to sample for these elements? Is it spring, summer, early fall? And then what wells are ideal for each contaminant, shallow versus deep? So then in 2018, 19, and 2020, we used our 9 dedicated monitoring sites throughout the district to try and answer these questions. So then here we have a map just kind of showing you where those sites are within our district to show us a pretty even distribution. Is not one area is being favored more than another within our district. So yeah. Within our district, we have 3 phases, 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1, all operators are subject to the requirements. Phase 2 is when the median nitrate level is set at 7 parts per million or higher. And phase 3 is when the median nitrate level is at 10 parts per million or higher. So to get that data to figure out the median level, we do sampling every summer. We have a variety of wells that we do throughout district, domestic and irrigation, as well as a few municipal wells. This is a result map from this past summer. And so as you can see, kind of a odd distribution of, where the higher nitrates are versus where they aren't. So as you can see, out of the 193 sites that we were supposed to get samples from, we got 187. In 2021, we have 210 sites that we're going to sample, and you have the zones listed above, showing you where we will be. And just on the map, domestic are the orange dots. The higher the concentration, the bigger the dot. Irrigation is in blue. The monitoring wells are the maroon, and municipal are green, and they are a little hard to see, but they are along the eastern edge of our district. So then we take that nitrate data and convert it into our median nitrate map, which this is our most recent one that we have updated for this year. Phases that are below 7 are in phase 1, so those are the white. Phase 2 is the orangey gold, and then phase 3 is the red. Phase 1 requirements, as I had said before, all operators are subject to these requirements. So any pre-plant ammonia may not be applied before November 1st, and liquid or dry pre-plant may not be applied before March 1st. There are some exceptions to this. If you're applying your fertilizer for any purpose other than spring planted crops, spring planted small grains such as barley, oats, and rye, spreading of manure, sewage, or other byproducts that comply with state laws. And then the application fertilizer that is not defined as nitrogen fertilizer is as this. We do have this within our rules and regulations, so if you do need to go back to it or refer back to it, it is there. Okay, phase 2 requirements. As before, all phase 1 requirements are continued to be enforced in phase 2. Just a reminder of what those are. And then a determination in phase 2, so that's when the median nitrate level is set at 7 parts per million or higher for that zone. And then no more than one zone may be designated as phase 2 for each year. So for example, if we had 2 phase 1 zones that were both above 7, the one that's higher will go into phase 2 first, and then the year after that will be the second zone. So for example, or again, looking at this map, just showing you what the zones are. So for example, we'll use zones 4 and 10. If zone 4 jumped up to about 7.5 and zone 10 jumped up to 7.1, zone 4 would get that phase designation first since it has the higher median level, and then the following year, zone 10 would jump into a phase 2 designation. So there are some additional requirements for phase 2. So we have an operator training. Within 2 years of a phase 2 designation, all operators must attend an NRD approved training and become certified. The training and certification must be renewed every 4 years. For renewal, you can certify with another NRD that is acceptable. You just need to let us know if you do that so we can get you marked off. And then methods for renewal are a training session or passing an NRD approved test. For soil sampling, before you apply your fertilizer each year, you must obtain 1 composite 0 to 8 sample for organic matter and nitrogen, and 1 8 to 24 inch sample per field for nitrogen. And down below, I kind of split out since it is a little complicated. For doing corn on corn, you are required to do the sample, but if you're rotating going corn to beans, beans to corn, you don't need to take a sample, but we still need you to report it. The nitrogen needs calculations. Before you apply your fertilizer, each operator must calculate the nitrogen rate for each field. And these calculations are based on the University of Nebraska recommended procedures and account for soil analysis and all other nitrogen credits. Irrigation scheduling, each operator must schedule irrigation in at least one field that is at least 65 acres or the largest field in a phase 2 area using one of the following methods, either the capacitance probes or the resistance blocks. And there's only one step per operator or operating partners needed. Okay. The annual report, each operator must report information regarding the use of their best management practices. A copy of your soil analysis and the previous year irrigation scheduling information must be included, and this is due April 1st each year. Base requirements, as I had said before, it's when the median nitrate level is at 10 parts per million or higher, and as before, all phase 1 and phase 2 requirements continue to be forced in phase 3. So again, just a reminder of what those are. And then phase 3 also has some additional requirements. So for soil sampling, pretty much the same as before, but this is per 40 acres. So if you do have an 80-acre field, you will need to take 2 sets of samples. So it's 0 to 8 for organic matter and residual nitrogen, and 8 to 24 for residual nitrogen. That's for corn and corn. If you're rotating, you don't need a sample, but you still need to fill out the report. Irrigation water analysis. Each operator that has an active irrigation well within a phase 3 area must test their well once every 3 years for nitrates. Commingled wells must be sampled separately. It can alter the results, and that's why they need to be sampled separately. We do offer free nitrate testing at our office, so you can definitely bring your samples to us. If you use a different lab, you must provide us with the results. So right now we only have one zone in a phase 3 area, zone 5. That new due date is April 1st, 2023, which includes the 2020, 2021, and 2022 irrigation seasons. I will be sending out reminder postcards spring 2022. So if you haven't fulfilled that requirement by then, be on the lookout for that postcard. And then fall and winter anhydrous ammonia, if it is applied between November 1st and February 29th, a district approved inhibitor must be applied at the manufacturer's rate. We've had some changes to our rules and regulations. These go into effect November 1st, 2020. A receipt as proof of purchase for the inhibitor must accompany your phase 2 and 3 report. That's due April 1st. And then we have also added ingredients to this. So the following 3 ingredients, if your inhibitor includes them, they're good to go within our district. If you have any questions about this, here is my email as well as the office number.